Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, welcome back, Enrichers. I am Carter Wilcoxon, your co-host. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast Show. I am joined, of course, by my fantastic Mr. Chemical Free Body himself, Tim James. Tim James, how are you, my man?
Doing fantastic. Had a great trip up to Eastern Oregon with my girlfriend, Rebecca. We went there specifically this time not to do farm work, but I ended up painting a barn. And which was good because it needed it bad, and now it's dialed, so it looks brand new, which is cool. My mom and dad are happy, and it's mating season for the elk, so they're bugling like crazy and going like nuts. And so I took my old hunting skills and we hiked up the hill and found a whole bunch of them, settled down, and got to watch elk mingle around us for 45 minutes. Great big huge herd bull with a bunch of cows, and they're running around doing crazy stuff. And then there's a big bull behind us, another bull behind us, even farther. And I make a cow call, and then all three of them twice in unison. They all bugled at the same time. And I spooked these cows off, and then we snuck up on them again. Well, I didn't know that this other bull had a herd of cows with him too. When I scared them all, they all ran off together and merged up. And there was way more bulls. There was probably like 10 bulls, but there was 4 big ones. And at the same time, 4 massive bulls, 2 on 2, were fighting each other at the same time.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
And they were just running and crashing and just going crazy. And Rebecca's just like, oh my God. So it was cool. We were up there for like 5 hours. And I'm like, I'm used to it because I grew up with that stuff all the time. But I've actually never seen, I've seen bulls fight, but I've never seen a double duo.
Yeah.
So that was pretty intense, pretty awesome. But we had a good time and got the barn painted. So it was a good weekend. But I'm really excited for our guest today, Owen, to be here because he's a younger financial planner. So it'll be good to. I'm really curious on what your view of like what Carter's platforms are. Being a younger person, not so set in your ways, because you get some of these old financial advisors, like you can't teach an old dog new tricks and like, So, but you have more of a, you've taken out, the rose-colored glasses that haven't been painted too much, hopefully. And you can take a fresh look at this platform. And so I'm just excited to have him on here. And I like the name of the company called Green Spring Advisors. I said, wow, green, anything green I like. So. Owen, thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Owen Demmerly is in, you're just outside of Baltimore. Is that correct?
That's right. Right in the Baltimore area.
Awesome. For the Enrichers who've been listening for a while, most of them know that, I'm a big Chiefs fan. So whenever I was pre-show talking with Owen, I'm like, yeah, we had that Ravens game in the bag, and then Patrick Mahomes decided to try to, do something. Patrick Mahomes and threw an interception, and it was all downhill from there. So, Anyway, I guess it is what it is, right?
Yeah, that's right. We also thought that one was over on our end too. So we thought that was it for the Ravens that day, and it was not going to be a pretty ending for us. But crossed our fingers and got lucky.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, well, hey, Owen, thanks for, joining us. Thank you for, we've spoken originally about a month, maybe a month and a half ago about, having you come on, sharing your story and your journey to where you're at now as a CFP there at your firm, Green Spring Advisors. So the Enrichers really love to hear, what led you to that? Like maybe some of the influencers and take us back, if you don't mind, on the infancy stage, if you will, on what led you towards, as far as I'm concerned, the path to wanting to help people. I believe that almost without exception, any type of a planner does that because they ultimately just they like helping people. They want to help people and everything. But take us back. What was the original influence? Was it grade school? Was it junior high? Was it your family? Was it a friend? What was it that sort of led you to where we're at today?
Yeah. So for me, the kind of journey began on at least with the idea of financial advising early on, because my mother worked with teachers. She's retired now, but she worked with teachers in New Jersey to help them plan for retirement. So she was very targeted in that focus with teachers. And on top of that, my father, he was actually a dentist, but he introduced me to trading. And so the stock market and how that works when I was very young. So I was starting to trade kind of when I was 14 or so, and just messing around with random stock positions. And that started to really pique my interest, though I didn't really know that was pushing me towards financial advising at the time. Later on, in college, I started to realize I really like the math side of things. I've been pretty experienced now in the market, just not necessarily very great at trading individual stocks, but enjoying it and liking the concepts and figuring out what made the most sense at that point. And from there, I said, okay, maybe I can tie these two together, but I didn't quite know how yet. And then I started looking for internships, positions that kind of anything financial related. I was studying economics, so I thought, okay, I could do something in the finance world, perhaps. And I actually got my first internship doing individual tax returns. So I quickly realized that was not where I wanted to pursue. I liked the puzzle of the return, but I didn't like the fact that I was reacting more necessarily to kind of what happened in the past. I liked the idea of kind of being proactive and figuring out what can be done to help a situation. So I said, okay, well, that was a great experience. I'm going to start looking for something else financial related. And I came across a mentor in college he worked at Morgan Stanley at the time. And he really helped to lay out what the field was like, what the industry was like, because he said, hey, maybe you should consider financial advising. That's what he did. And he said, I've had a wonderful career. I really have enjoyed it. And so he laid out all the different routes to come into the industry. And that was extremely helpful because I had no idea there was more than one route to come into this industry. Kind of looking at, okay, well, if you're an advisor, you go out and you be an advisor. But it's not necessarily that structure. You can come in as a team, as an individual in a company, and so on. So that started to really lay out the table for me to actually have realistic ideas of what my career could look like. From that point, then I was still looking, kind of scrounging for an internship between my junior and senior year of college. And one of my professors really hooked me up with an old alumni I went to Goucher College right in this area. And that alumni actually worked at a company that they were looking for someone to do microeconomic analysis of their inventory and stuff like that. And said, okay, well, anything I can at least apply what I've learned, that would be great. And so I went down. This is in about 2 hours south of where I was living. And I interviewed, and the interview went pretty well and felt like things were going well. And at the end, they said, we've enjoyed this. This is great. We like you, but do you really want to drive 2 hours south every day in the summer, your last summer between going off to the working world officially? And, I thought a little bit about that, and I said, well, I'd be happy to do it, to have this position. And they said, what do you really want to do? Because, we want to try to help you connect with people we know. They were both from the area I was living, which is actually this same area I'm in now. And they said, here, if you want to do financial advising, because I said, that's something I think I'm interested in. They said, here's a list of 10 firms in the area that have all differing structures and backgrounds and goals and values. And, pick from this list and we'll make an introduction, see if they're hiring for an internship. So this kind of roundabout way, I ended up getting actually an internship here at Greenspring, because that was the one on the list that jumped out to me for many reasons. But it was very lucky timing where they connected me with the founders here at Greenspring. The founders said, we just started thinking of doing an internship program. So let's do this. Let's have you as the first intern kind of in this program. And from there, I stayed on all year and lucky enough to have them keep me on afterwards.
And this was your junior or senior year of college. Did I catch that right?
That's right. So this was the summer between my junior and senior year.
Okay.
And then I worked and stayed on as an intern all through my senior year.
Okay.
And then officially came on board in July after I graduated. Between that, had a little bit of time and took some vacation and did some cool rafting trips in the Grand Canyon. So
nice. So you've been in my neck of the woods out here in Arizona then.
That's right. Came out west. So
awesome. So so what was the what were the types of classes that you took, like your junior senior year, that you think helped you to become a better CFP, if you will, and the attraction maybe not only for Greenspring as bringing you on full time, but also for maybe the clientele and how that helps them out in their goals and objectives?
Yeah. So a lot of the classes I took, actually a few in my major, I'll say, which were very helpful, were of course kind of some large macroeconomic theory type classes that really tie in a lot of the concepts that you hear being thrown around when people are talking about, especially around elections. A lot of times you start hearing more about unemployment. What does that really mean? How does all this affect the market? So being able to tie in kind of immediate news with what that really means for the potential market, and more importantly for the economy going forward, that helps to break things down. So that definitely was I took a few useful classes that tied in there. But one that was actually not at all in my major, but I find I might even use more than that or just as much, was actually psychology. Because being an advisor, while there's a lot of technical aspects of it, and that's where the CFP definitely comes in, and having that technical knowledge is important. But knowing what a client might actually be asking when they ask a question, may not be necessarily what they say, but you kind of hear what they really mean. Being able to dig through that, and I found kind of psychology to tie in directly to the behavioral science part of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's interesting simply because, and I know that Owen and myself, we're just now starting to form a relationship, and and I know that you yourself aren't really even sure all the different things that we do over here to help an advisor grow their practice. But one of the things that we were just, in fact, this is going to launch, I believe, on Wednesday. Tim and I were just having a follow-up podcast about success stories and what advisors are learning by coming on to our podcast, and also sharing with them the things that they're going to learn while they get to know us, not only Tim's business, but also our business. But when we were talking in there, we talked a little bit about the company that we launched about 3 weeks ago called Epic Services Company. And there's a component to Epic Services Company that ties in perfectly with the psychology of sales, if you will, and an area that we emphasize on the front end, a foundational approach to estate planning. That is our foundational approach for everything that we do. But Epic Services Company adds one additional component for an advisor's clients. And it's a collaborative effort that we work with the advisor and their clients to deliver estate planning through this educational approach. But of course, we have a proprietary process when they go through that. In fact, Tim's parents are going through the process as we speak. But the psychology of the sale, if you will, and the additional emotional aspect of it, what we've added is this legacy component. And when you hear legacy planning, in your mind, and maybe as an end user consumer, you think to yourself, well, that just means the things I leave behind, but usually you're thinking that's some sort of financial plan, right? That's your legacy plan or a tax legacy plan or something like that.
Right.
We've taken it as a third component. So you've got your estate planning, you got your financial planning, then you got your legacy planning. Our legacy planning is actually a company that I believed in their mission so much, I bought the company. And it's called Legacy Stories. And what Legacy Stories is a platform and a portal for advisors, clients, that when they go through our estate planning process, that's part of it, by the way. It's all part of the overall cost, if you will, that they can go in and have one centralized location to be able to have a place where they can pass on their values, not just their valuables. And that's where estate and financial planning comes into play, but to be able to have a place where they can pass on their values. What makes them tick? What's their story? So think of it like this, Owen. You're obviously a pretty young guy. My guess is your grandfather's still alive, right?
Not currently, but he certainly could be. Oh, actually, no. One is still alive. So
okay, all right. So maybe you're married, right?
Almost. I have a fiance.
Okay.
Fiance. Yep.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank
maybe
you.
Congrats, brother.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into that a little bit. But so imagine this, though. You have one grandfather that's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, I'm going to take a bad situation and share an example of exactly what we've done here.
Yeah.
Imagine having a place where you can go whenever you want to and hear your grandfather talk about all the different topics. We have these things called legacy story prompts that we give them to actually record, right, and document stories or pictures or whatever it is in one centralized location that allows their family members to go to and hear those stories all the time, anytime they want to. So that is the emotional aspect. That is the additional piece that advisors that are tapping into that platform are wrecking their competition.
Yeah.
You want to talk about competitor proofing and creating what I call professional contrast? That's what we've developed, and that's why Epic Services Company is going to change the industry as a whole when it comes to adding that third legacy component.
Wow. I knew a little bit about it previously. I knew kind of the online component, the ability to make things a lot easier, but I had no idea about that component, which I think is really cool.
Well, like I said, I believed in their mission so much, and their timeline goes all the way back to like 2001. That's when they originally started that mission of what they call the Living Legacy Project. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, your grandfather, perfect example.
Yeah.
Once he's gone, if he didn't document anything,
right,
it's gone. It dies with you, right? So the easier parts to maybe deal with, of course, we try to help with the fracturing of families by proactively, you mentioned earlier, being proactive, estate planning, so that you're not, families aren't, infighting and tearing each other apart whenever the matriarch and patriarch pass away. Yeah. But this additional component, I believe, is that emotional connection that really ties in nicely in a lot of instances with the missus, if you will, right? The matriarch of the family, because that's the psychology of sales. Men typically tend to be very logical and they're numbers oriented and they're just like, just break it to me straight, Owen, right? And then the females, and again, there's exceptions to all these rules, but typically females are more on the emotional aspect. So all we did is we just tied in this triumvirate, and I took this time, and this timeline I'm talking about talks about how I came along during, when COVID hit, and I was like, hey, I want to buy this thing. I want to own this thing because I believe in that mission so much that it's going to help my advisors in their client acquisition pursuits and initiatives to help them differentiate themselves. And this one additional area, not to oversell it, obviously, Owen, but I think that this is going to be the biggest differentiating factor when some clients are going to make a decision on why Owen or why this other advisor that I'm hearing the same sort of products and solutions and things of that nature. They already like you. Owen, you're a likable guy. That's easy. This additional component, I believe, will really help you to elevate your client's experience.
Okay. That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome stuff, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I think we should talk a little bit more. And maybe, Owen, if you have some questions about Epic Services or the legacy planning and how that all works and how you would tie that into your practice, we can go over that when we return. We'll be right back.
Estate planning. What does that even mean? When the inevitable happens for everyone on this planet, your estate plan kicks into action. But first, let's start with what an estate is. An estate is simply everything you own. Now, here's the issue and what needs to be understood when this event occurs. You only have two choices on this plan. Number one, either you plan how your estate gets handed out and distributed to those you leave behind. Or number two, your state decides who gets everything you own. For the first time ever, you can now take complete and total control of this plan that you've been deprived of for most of your life and generations before you. You can get personalized assistance along the way with a team of specialists whose job it is to make sure you have true peace of mind. It's important to understand that estate planning is a journey, and rest assured that our team will be available to you all along the way and at every step. Welcome to eState Plan, home of the last estate plan you'll ever need. To learn more, make sure to reach out to your local advisor licensed with us or go to our website for more information.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here with my co-host Carter Wilcox. And today in the house, we've got Owen Demmerly, certified financial planner. And, you guys were just talking about like the legacy planning. And, so much of this is just not being talked about by financial advisors in general. There are a small group of people that are trying to do it, but they're not tying in. There's other elements too, like bringing in the CPA and, having all these people know each other. But when we're talking really about legacy planning, you were talking about his grandfather, right? One is alive, one has passed away. Now, the one that passed away probably has some gold nuggets that he's learned from School of Hard Knocks life that he could share with people, but he can't now because he's gone. Now, if he had had that recorded, that'd be there forever in perpetuity. And whether you get it now or in 10 years or 20 years, it'll eventually make sense. Or maybe you're like, wow, I like learning from others' mistakes, not from my own. What Grandpa said was really cool. Plus, it's just nice to have to be able to go, like, if you miss him, like, just go listen to his voice, So that's where that emotional component comes in. I know because when I was before I got into financial planning, I did some reverse mortgages in the mortgage industry and kind of became, I did a lot of them actually. And a lot of the times, like the spouse had died like 5 years ago, but the answering machine was still the dude's voice, and they haven't switched it. I guarantee you they sit there and, they probably play it and listen to it. Right. So, but they miss them so much. When you're married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's like losing your left leg or something when a spouse passes. So it's really tough. And I just really like that, the emotional component, but it's also a tactical component too, because, by prompting them, that system helps the person be able to get this information out on different topics that they may or may not have thought of. And then the ones they come up with are on their own. That's just great. Right. It's really great. And when you're explaining that to somebody, they're like, wow, I never thought about this before, because I've really gained a lot of knowledge and insight. It's just not handing over my assets, but it's how to handle the assets and what to look out for, and look for the sharks and the potholes and look for this. And this is what you're looking for. There's so much more there that's worth more than the money itself, is the knowledge that they use to acquire that. Right. So Carter, maybe you can just expand on that and keep going on the track you were talking about Epic Services and the legacy planning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you for that, Tim. So, it was really our entire intention when we launched Epic Services Company and tying all these things together was to have an area, a location where advisors knew that they had a collaborative effort on all of these different things when it came to our foundational approach, which is estate and legacy planning. And our website, reflects that, epicservicescompany.com. But Owen, when you started talking about, the proactiveness and everything, that has been our entire approach is proactive planning, right? And a lot of times, right, wrong, or indifferent, most of your prospective clients or your current clients that need to get this type of work done, the ideal clients, they are in their, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. They already know inherently that they need to get some, estate planning work done, right? They know that a financial advisor can help them for financial planning and things of that nature. I just wanted to sort of like create this one-stop shop, if you will, but make it a resource for the advisors to come into. But by tying in that one last component, that really is going to what I call competitor-proof those ideal clients, right? Because you work hard to get a client, right? You're like, it's a relationship war that you're trying to win out there, right? There's plenty for those, clients that you're really after. There's plenty of options. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Right.
So, that is why we've been very comprehensive in not only putting this whole thing together, but, the website will reflect that. And I know, again, you're just starting to get to know some of the things that we can do, but we have a heart after helping advisors grow their practice. And we feel like this is one of those things that honestly, any other competitor, if you will, of ours, they don't deliver this type of stuff because they don't put themselves in the shoes of the advisor. But I've been out there. I've had to try to win the relationship war, right? And this is that sort of that additional component. And then again, nothing against your age, but what I'm curious about is if you are trying to work with high net worth individuals, do you sometimes have to fight that battle of, well, you're pretty young. Like, what do you know?
Yeah, I've been somewhat surprised. I haven't run into that too much. I did expect to run into that a lot more. But from time to time it does come up, and you can kind of see it kind of going in somebody's head at one point. And then, maybe one thing you say something and they go, okay, well, all right. You know what you're talking about. That's good. I also try to frame it a little bit in the way that it's actually a benefit to have a young advisor because, if you are an older individual and you have a young advisor who you trust and stick with for a long time, well, then you have somebody who you never have to change an advisor, and you can hopefully have that wealth transfer. That is exactly where it sounds like Epic comes in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm glad that you said that because I've heard that also from a lot of advisors where that were younger, right? That they were concerned with that. But I think if you frame it properly, which it sounds like, you have, and I love that whole idea, like, hey, being young is actually a benefit,
right?
Not a detriment to, us me being your provider of, financial solutions. So I love how you frame that out.
Yeah, thank you. And I know, I think part of what's helped me a lot in that front was coming through Greenspring the way I did with moving from intern to kind of a financial associate that worked on a team with folks, kind of slowly taking on those lead roles and then moving into the advisor position. That's allowed me to gain the knowledge along with my CFP and confidence to say, when I first started, I'll tell you, my original thought was, I'm going out there. I've been doing the market since I was young. I'm ready to advise people. This is great. Came in and I said, whoa, I just realized now I know what I don't know. And it's time to learn a lot and get really good at this. Then I can feel really confident taking on the responsibility of managing people's money and getting them the proper estate planning set up and making sure everything's in good shape.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have your mom is a retired teacher, right?
So she's a retired, actually financial professional. She did work with teachers.
That's what.
That's right. So she specialized in working with teachers.
So that was your original, influencer, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So tying in kind of like what I just got through talking about and everything, It sounds like that's something that you would obviously be open to weaving into some of your solutions and everything. And obviously, offline, we can talk more specifics about how that can work out. But I just know that the enlightened advisors that we're working with, for them, it's such a huge game changer because, how do you answer the question, right? With the idea that product is not the unmet need in this industry. How do you answer the question that your clients, and you said it psychologically, like they're asking this question, but really what they're really asking is maybe something else. What is it that makes you different? Why do I want to work with you, Owen, right? So anyway, I just wanted to see if that was something that you could see weaving in from, some of your solutions that you're looking to incorporate.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to hear more, especially about kind of the exact way it works, kind of, working through. It sounds like there's a portal maybe that people can go to for forever to access things. And I'm guessing like a one-on-one connection with somebody at some point to get the appropriate things in place. Is that accurate to say? It's
100% accurate. So here's the thing that I've really been, I want to drive this point home, is that some of these conceptual things that we're talking about, right? I really wanted to elevate the client experience, right? And you can't elevate the client experience. And there's similar things out there like this, but your clients, they want to have their hand held in a lot of these types of situations. They don't want to I'm going to send you an email. And you just follow these 6 steps. And if you follow the 6 steps, then when you're all done, and this is what you get when you're all done. No, I wanted to have this be a relationship win for everyone, where our team collaboratively works with your clients to hold their hand through every single one of these processes. That includes the estate planning and putting that all together. That includes their legacy stories and exactly how all that works. Now, we reinforce things with video to be able to go in and learn more on your own, of course. But the initial setup is all about white glove onboarding. So that's something that, of course, yes, we can talk more specifically on exactly what that looks like and how that works. But we wanted to make sure that we were delivering an onboarding process that wasn't left up to the advisor or the client wondering what they need to do next.
Right. I love that concept.
So there you have it. So just out of curiosity, and the enrichers want to know, what do your clients that you're working with, in the environment that we're living in today and everything, what do they kind of look like? Who are your ideal clients that you are looking to work with?
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a variety I have kind of private clients that I work with. So the more typical kind of individual families. I find most of my current clients are probably between 30 and 50, 60. I know that's a broad range, of course, still, but that's probably about correct. Most are younger families to families with a few kids. But another area I've past few years, really been working with more is nonprofits. So I kind of work with the individual families, but also nonprofits as the institution themselves, and specifically actually fire departments. So somewhere I didn't realize ever had a need, but then we kind of, by happenstance, came across a group that needed help and started talking to them and saying, wow, well, we have all the framework to really help you guys, because we have our institutional side, which provides a lot of framework. But generally, companies that are working with institutions are looking for institutions with 20, 30, $40 million to work with. Well, fire departments generally don't have anywhere near that, of course. As you know, I'm sure you have your local fire department probably asking you for a little bit of help. And so they have this kind of spot that they're not necessarily being served by the private client advisors, because they don't have the framework or ability to help them. But the institutional type advisors aren't necessarily looking for them. They're not the kind of ideal client for them. So we've had that ability to kind of marry the two, I'll call it, and use more of a private client framework with this institutional client. And after working with these guys, I've been so excited about it and knowing that it's really helped these guys. And, you hear kind of the really positive feedback, which is wonderful. And that kind of drove me to say, oh my gosh, there's got to be more groups out here where, Joe in the fire company who doesn't have any kind of profession in this industry is running their assets. And he may not even realize he is technically a fiduciary to the fire department. Now he's got a lot of risk that he doesn't know about. And the fire department has a lot of risk because he's not managing it maybe in a professional manner. Maybe he is, and that's great. But there is a lot of things that we can do to help there. And so that's been an interesting space that I've been exploring a lot more and trying to specialize a lot more in.
So are you, just out of curiosity, are you dealing in that, that fiduciary, like 316, 321 role? Is that what you're really talking about there?
Yeah. So kind of coming in right as that fiduciary advisor, basically doing fiduciary training, running kind of reports of the investments so that they're doing their proper due diligence. But then we take it a little bit of a step further with the fire departments and weave in a financial planning aspect. So actually doing, for example, like apparatus analysis, saying, how are you going to fund your truck purchases over the next 20 years? And it's amazing. I didn't realize this before starting to work with these departments, but a fire truck, if you see one of the fire truck engines go past, that's going to run above $500,000 for that truck. And then the ladder trucks, the ones with the big ladder on them, they run around $1 million to $1.5 million for the purchase.
Wow.
So these guys really have to have, while they have some support, likely the volunteer companies from local municipalities, they need to have some sort of plan to buy these trucks and keep their department in really good shape. So it's been really interesting getting into this field, getting into this area and starting to become a little more of an expert in how to plan for these folks.
Well, that's, by the way, that's awesome. And I it is one of those things that are unique. You don't think about that. I'm assuming you're dealing with some pension stuff with some of the fire departments as well as.
So for us, so far, it's really just the department's money. So kind of almost endowment, like I'll call it.
Sure.
Just to keep the department running. But I certainly do have some firefighters themselves who are also clients. And so I kind of work with the individual there at times and also the institution there at times.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Owen, because, one of the things that we do, again, to kind of sort of go back and circle around on, we're so laser focused on helping advisors grow their practice through client acquisition. And we do some very unique planning with our own DAF, right? The Donor Advised Fund, to be able to, so some charitable remainder trusts and things of that nature that we're incorporating a lot of that. Again, this is all part of Epic Services Company. So the thing that I recognize is that, and we like working with charities also because we create this like revenue share arrangement. And a lot of times I'll go and I'll talk to an advisor and like, if you're working in the 501c3 market, the nonprofit market, there is a connectivity here where you can utilize our estate planning process and platform for what they call donors, but donors are what we call clients.
Yeah.
Right. So they're really one and the same, and that's kind of like what you're talking about, right? They may be dealing in the 501c3 area, but they're actual individuals. They're an underserved, and I think that's what you recognize. They're an underserved area that deserve the type of solutions that you can provide. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I think it's that's what drove me to get really interested. As I said, these are really good people doing really good things for the community, and they need help, and this place needs help. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, I know we're probably coming up on a break. I'm not looking at the clock. I know, Tim.
We're there.
Are we there? Okay. Well, hey, Tim, before we go to the break and everything, was there anything that you wanted to share with some of the comments or?
Well, no, I just thought it was really cool that he found that niche, and it reminds me about life in general. It's like when you follow your highest excitement, whatever that is, you have the best ability to take action on. That leads you to the bigger things that excite you, right? So it just happens because people get so focused on, doing things that are like career oriented or these big things, but it's the little things that you do that excite you that are connected to the bigger things. So for him going out there and doing what he loved, doing it excited, all of a sudden he realized, well, I can help these people. There was probably no intent there, and just help them. And then he sat back and was like, wow, there's probably more people like this, right? Yeah. This could be a whole nother path for Owen, and it could be a whole nother division for his company, for the people over there at Green Springs. So it's just really cool how I like seeing how things, play out. It's like you're on a block and you drive 6 blocks, and then you look to the right, and now you can see something else that you couldn't see 6 blocks ago, right? That's how life is. You just keep going through life, and if you're following your excitement, things show up. You're like, oh, that's cool. And you go over there, and then you look, oh, you see that. And it leads you. I just think it's a really cool thing what happened. So I was just seeing that synchronicity happening in his life, and that's how life works. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to flip the script. We're going to let Owen question me on anything he wants regarding health or pretty much anything else. We'll be right back.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently. We're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host Carter Wilcoxon. Today in the house, we've got Owen Demmerly, certified financial planner. And now we're going to stop talking about finances, and we're going to start talking about health. So Owen, buddy, any questions you have about anything in regards to health for you or your family or your community?
I do. So one thing that I was wondering is, being younger, and as I've kind of come out of college, I've lived in a few different places and different rentals and, kind of moving into the idea of buying a house and all that. But what I've always wondered is in rentals, as you come in, somebody else has lived there, and potentially many people. Sometimes we try to avoid this because we're not huge fans, but sometimes they have a lot of carpet in these rentals and a lot of different things. You don't know how the systems are set up for AC and whatnot. How do you go into those types of situations and try to set yourself up to be as healthy as possible, whether that be, replacing, filters? Do you go in and get some air system to help, or I'll
sure.
leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a good one. So are you specifically talking about as a renter? Or
Either as a renter or even going in, you buy a new home, kind of what's the best thing to do to set up your living situations, or the few things that are most important, perhaps?
Well, okay. So as a renter, you're a little more limited because you can't just tear out the carpet, right? Because they might be like, hey, it's fine, right? Yeah. A lot of times, but first off, I would recommend on no carpet at all. Okay. Mm-hmm. Number one, like you said, they're nasty. It is a breeding ground. And most people aren't aware that what's carpet made out of? Well, it's made out of crude oil. And they use many thousands of chemicals to make that. So what carpet's doing 24/7 is off-gassing formaldehyde. Mm. Where else can you think, Owen, where formaldehyde is used besides, biology lab with the frogs?
I think it's used after people pass away. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's when this estate planning kicks in, right? So you got it.
Yeah, embalming.
Right. So we want to avoid formaldehyde until hopefully I don't ever want to have that stuff put in me anyway. Don't embalm me. Just throw me out in the dirt and let nature take its course. That's what I want to have happen. Seriously. So with that said is like, if you're a renter and if you're very limited on income, I don't know what, it's just like you think about, some people have money when they're renting. It's just whatever. Doesn't matter. I think it's actually a smart thing sometimes not to own a home today. I think it's owning your own single family residence is not the smartest thing. I think it'd make more sense to purchase rent and then just purchase a rental property and then rent it out yourself and turning it into an income producing property. Put all your income somewhere where it's going to make money instead of going into a garbage can until you have to, refinance it, pay fees to get the money out or sell it. So, but with that said, you would, first thing is air purification system, like a standalone unit would be very important. There's a company called Austin Air, which is one I would recommend. I'm actually just signed the paperwork. I'm letting the cat out of the bag here. Like nobody even knows about this because our whole thing at Chemical Free Bodies, we want clean air for people to breathe, clean water purification, and we have supplements to detox your body and do all this stuff. And I finally landed on a standalone air purification system. Okay. So this will be good for people, not just for wildfires, but just for general air quality. If you can't crack your windows, which is the best thing you can do, get those windows opened up. That's why older houses are better because they're kind of drafty and air can get in and out of there. These new green certified homes, highly toxic because they seal everything up and they're made with the most toxic glues and paints and they're terrible. But the older houses can be toxic too because then they have mold and stuff like that. And then you can have radon and things. That's why they test for these things. So there's toxins on two ends. But the good thing about the old homes is they're drafty and air gets to move through them. So if I was going to rent, I would definitely have air purification system. That would be number one. I would also get water purifier and restructuring device. So this is very important. You can book in a consult with my water gal at mypurifiedwater.com. Talk to Danusha, mypurifiedwater.com, and get your water right. So your body's mostly made of what? Water, right? So if your body's mostly made of it and you're planning on drinking some water tomorrow and the next week and the next year and the 10 years from now, you might want to get that part dialed in. Very, very important. And understand that the water needs to be purified because the amount of plastics today, and that's, if you notice, Carter's drinking out of glass now because he's heard me say this a bazillion times. Yep. When you drink out of plastic, it's actually off-gassing these estrogen-mimicking, hormone-disrupting chemicals right into your water. So when it comes in the big water things and bloop, 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 and you're filling up, you're poisoning yourself every time. Drinking out of plastic bottles, plastic is like, it gives you man boobs, leads to prostate cancer for women, ovarian cysts, uterine cysts, breast cancer, throws off hormones, Graves' disease, Hashimoto's. All these things are linked to these estrogen mimickers from plastics. And it's not just BPA. There's BPB, BPC, BPD, BE, FGH, elemental P. I mean, they have like a gazillion of them. And these xenotoxins are highly hormonal disruptors. They really disrupt the hormones. So get your air right, get your water right. And before you go into a rental property, I would talk to them and like, hey, I'm going to sign this contract with you. I'm going to be here for a year. I'm going to make my payments on time, but I want to make sure I want to test for mold before I go in. I want to test for radon, which I know is when you're buying a house now up here in Oregon, at least it's been mandated like quite a few years ago, actually, to do tests on that. Those are the two things that I would recommend immediately. And if it had carpet and there's hardwood floors underneath it, I would ask them and say, hey, can you just remove the carpet? You don't need to restain the hardwood floors or anything. I'll throw some rugs down, but just get rid of it because I'm telling you what, it is freaking nasty, right? And if you have a chance for them to typically you don't because they've already kind of painted it and they got it ready. But that's unfortunate too for renters because there's a fresh coat of paint and for about 4.5 years, that paint's going to be off-gassing. Again, these disrupting chemicals into your body. So that's why air purification is huge. Now, put that aside for now let's go to the person that's a homeowner. If you were going to buy new construction, then and you get to choose, then I would be hooking up with Andy over at the Green Design Center and hooking up your contractor with them, your general contractor or the home builder, because you can build your home completely non-toxic nowadays. Non-toxic paints, non-toxic primers, non-toxic grout, non-toxic, you need carpet. There's I'm redoing my mom and dad's house and there was some mold in this area. I got this paint stuff. You just paint it on there and it's full of lime, which is highly alkaline. As soon as it contacts the mold, it instantly kills it and it seals and it's good for 6 years. So as long as that area dries out within 6 years, which hopefully it'll be dried out within 6 days, not 6 weeks, that's never going to come back, right? And then you fix it and seal it up. But for new construction, it's the same thing. You want to crack your windows at night. you could take it, instead of getting a standalone air purification system, which I still believe in, you could actually get one for the HVAC system. That's what's so silly. It's like they're worried about children and COVID and all this stuff. It's like, why not just put air purification systems in the HVAC system with the UV rays? UV rays, 100% kill zone for all microbes, 100%. So we could just be cleaning the air at 100% in the schools. The kids don't need to wear masks. It is silly to wear a mask. It actually harms your health. It's for children. For those of you listening, if you're putting a mask on your children, you're probably doing it because you are a good, decent person and you care about your child's health. But what you're actually doing is you're disrupting the oral microbiome in the child, which is systemic to their gut microbiome, which is just like as a child's growing and they're building strong bones, they're also building their immune system. And part of that is their bacterial system. It's part of their innate immune system. So if you don't have that, your child's building a weak gut bacteria, they're going to be more susceptible to getting sick as they get older. And it's something that they can't recover from. Plus, you're going to disrupt the temperature in your mouth, whether you're a child or an adult. And you're going to raise the acidity is going to go up. You have more acid in your mouth, and then 3 bad bacteria take off. And that's why we're seeing, the dentists are calling it mask mouth. And that's why we're seeing a 50% increase in tooth disease, gum disease, and cracking, rotting teeth. That's happening right now because it's not natural. Where in nature do you see anything wearing a mask? It doesn't. But people are like, well, but you just want to do it to, you want to be a decent person. I don't want to hurt somebody else. You're not going to hurt anybody else. You're lowering your own immune system, right? You're going to get more susceptible to getting sick, and they don't work. We have a 5-year study that was done. It was like a biological engineering, a microbiology engineering paper written for 5 years. It was a 5-year study done before COVID even hit. Cloth masks would be like you saying, I hate mosquitoes. I can't get bit by a mosquito. So you build a dome chain link fence over your property. And then you're like, whew, no mosquito's going to get me. Well, everybody's going to laugh at you because they can see it, right? Humans, it's like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, chain link fence is not going to stop a freaking mosquito. Well, just as the viruses are 0.02 microns, they're like mosquitoes flying through a chain link fence. That's your cloth mask. Most of it just goes right through. It's not going to work. The only masks that do work are the N95 masks. They do work, but you can only wear them for like 2 or 3 hours, and then you start getting headaches and you get dizzy. So that's not going to work either. So the reality is that, if you're wearing a mask, you shouldn't. You should just put on a hazmat suit. I mean, that's where we're at. But we're talking about air quality here. So see, I get off my little tangent. Sorry about that, Carter.
Way to go, Tim. Way to go.
But so people need to know this, right? So it's important. So these abstracts are out there. The papers are out there. It's the real science. So again, you want to get your air right. So you want to make sure that you're non-toxic paints in your house, not natural fiber carpet if you have to go there. I would recommend hard surfaces. Throw some rugs down. Much, much better opportunity for your health. HVAC systems, UV rays that kill the microbes, air purification systems. Still put your water purifier in. Very important. If you have your own house, though, and you're on a well, you have to be careful with some of these purifiers. Like the restructuring purifier that I use could be damaged with well water if the well water's got too much iron in it or something like that. So you might have to get a whole house pre-filter, which I think is a really good idea. So, but that's that. Also on new construction or even renting, you have to be very aware of rogue frequencies like EMFs. 5G is an example, 4G, 3G. Every single time there's a new rollout, there's a whole nother set of people that get sicker and dog, and a lot of them die, right? And 5G is right below military-grade weaponry as far as frequencies go. It's right below like what the military is using as frequencies to like take people out, right? And so when you have a quote-unquote smart meter attached to your home, it's really a kill switch. Kill meter is what it should be called, because it's literally killing you. It's 2.4 gigahertz. It's the same as a microwave. Exact same. It's like, when you want to microwave yourself? No. That's why when somebody turns on a microwave, I actually leave the room, because that stuff doesn't go on inside. It also goes on outside of it. And just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not hurting you, lowering your immune system, disrupting your cells. It is. So you can call your phone company and say, take the smart meter off, or don't put it in the first place. They'll come out and do it, probably charge you a fee, and you have to pay an extra $10, $12 a month, but it's totally worth it. Now, the problem is you have these things called neighbors. and they may or may not be aware of this. So you can get information. You can start going around to the neighborhood and sharing this with people and have them do the same thing. But you can also get things called harmonizers that you can put in your pocket. You can put them around your house. There's actually certain paints that you can paint your house to kind of block frequency. There's paint that's like more of a primer you can put down first. And then if you do paint the home, I think you should use the non-toxic paint and then throw some essential oils in it. Like if you want your bathroom to smell like a lemon, put a bunch of lemon essential oil in there. Now you're getting a frequency that's going to boost you and lift you up. Or maybe your wife wants lavender in there or whatever, whatever. Doesn't matter. So whatever you want. Maybe you put some calming lavender in the paint and non-toxic paint and paint the baby's room. I mean, eventually that'll probably be coming for you someday. So you want to create an environment, Owen, where you can take the cleanest, you have clean air, clean water, and then clean food would be next. And, I was just talking to you guys. I just, before I just had Jim Gale on, who's owns Food Forest Abundance. And he'll design your whole yard and turning into a perennial and an annual perennial food source. So it was kind of crazy. Think about this, 40 to 50 million acres of lawn in the United States. It's the most pesticide chemical sprayed area on the planet, and it produces no food. But we let our kids and our dogs and our puppies run around in this chemical soup that we call lawns. And golf courses, I know they're terrible. Hey, Carter, you golf a lot. Would you ever take a drink of any of the water in the ponds of the golf course?
Rhetorical question.
Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Why not?
Why would I not?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't drink water out of any pond, whether it was on a golf course or not.
Well, think about it in nature, though. I mean, a pond in nature that's got a creek running into it and running out versus a pond. You know what I'm saying? The point is there's chemicals in there, right?
Yeah.
They're spraying them things 24/7. They have a monocrop, like one thing that's not natural in nature. So when you get away from nature, you cause problems. And, think about that. You could create, when you're building your food, and you could grow sprouts, also getting lots of plants in your house. Actually, this is a good one for renters too. Look up plants. A lot of these plants have the ability to take these chemicals and render them inert and give you a byproduct of oxygen. So have a plant-rich home. Have lots of plants and vegetation in the home. We also recommend sprouting, where you can grow lots of sprouts and microgreens in the house. Not only is that really awesome for your health, and you're getting living foods 365 days a year, even if you live in a climate where it gets cold, like Chicago or something in the winter. But
or Baltimore.
In Baltimore, it makes more oxygen in the house. It's a family community binding thing that you can do together, growing your food, and it's just awesome. So these are some things you could do, whether you're renting or you have a new home, but really focus on the basics. Think about your air that you breathe. You have 20,000 breaths a day, making sure that's dialed. Get your water right, and then make sure that your house is and you have really good fresh access to clean food and stuff like that, and lots of plants in the house to clean the air. And I think that would do you really well.
That's great. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, brother.
All right. If I did want to find out more about that, though, would I call you? How do I find out more about this stuff?
Yeah. So my website's just chemicalfreebody.com. And, we have our detox and nutrition supplements. So we help people for those that are becoming enlightened or frightened, as we call it, they want to get the toxins out. We have products to help do that. And then also, we have a code for them, don't we? It's Enrichers.
Enrichers. Yep.
Yeah, you just type in the code Enrichers and you get a discount on your first purchase when you go to chemicalfreebody.com.
Yeah.
And there you go. So you can start there, and you can also on the coaching tab book a free consult if you want to go further, and I can hook you up with a bunch of other stuff. And I also have a group coaching community you could join. So after you buy the products, you'll get a one-time offer to join the community at a super discount. Or you can join at full price. That's totally up to you. And then I go live once a week, and on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we do a topic and live Q&A, and you can ask me any question you want, and then we do our best to answer it.
Yeah, and then one other thing I wanted to add also, because those are all the things individually for you, and this is the reason why whenever I learned all of the things that Tim does and our backstory and how we ended up getting connected together and starting our own podcast is actually a pretty cool story. But one of the things that we decided to do for the advisors that are working with us, whether that's Epic or CSI Financial Group, is Tim will have like a coaching session for your clients to come to listen. And that's an additional value add. Tim, you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, it's really simple. So we want to help you do everything you can to separate you from your competition. Well, one thing is, and you know this, did you ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People?
I actually haven't, but it is on my list to read.
You've heard it a lot. Okay, well, I can't remember where it's at, but somewhere in there, they went to Middletown, America, and they wanted to do a test. And back then, they spent like $20,000 or $30,000, which was like probably $2.5 million today on this test, or $5 million. It was like a lot of money, right? It was like in the 30s or something. And they interviewed all these town members, and they asked them like 600 questions. It was a very intense questionnaire. And the point is the number 2 thing that people wanted, they were most interested in life, was like basically how to relate to other people and how to talk to other people. It basically edified his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. They wanted to connect and how to, talk to people and just have a relationship, right? They were that was they were really curious about. Guess what number 1 was? Health. It was health. And it's always going to be health, because you can have $1 bazillion in the bank, but if you have a tumor growing out of the side of your face, you're not too worried. You're not really concerned about how your portfolio is doing.
You spend your last penny on your health. And in fact, I say, not to interrupt you, Tim, but I say this on a regular basis, and I sort of stole this from somebody, but if money can solve your problems, you really don't have any problems at all. Mm-hmm. And that's a perfect example of that. And that book is great. And that's why we decided ultimately to start the Health and Wealth, podcast, is because without your health, your wealth is obsolete.
Yeah. We want people to have both, right? So you guys, Carter on his side, he helps the advisors crush it, build their businesses, bulletproof their clients, do all that stuff, and really help their clients. I mean, provide value beyond anything anybody else is doing. And what I want to do on the health piece is just to have this information out there to help you guys for your own personal health and your client's health. So to answer your question, Carter, what we do is, like, you can send a mailer out to your clients. Carter, we got to draft that up.
We still got to draft it up. Yeah, exactly.
We talked about last time to get it done. So we got to draft it up, or you can do it yourself and say, hey, I'm going to have this guy on, and we book a live show, and you send out to your 300, 400, 500, 5,000 clients, whatever you guys got. And then a certain amount show up. We record the show, and I do live Q&As with them. I do a little detox class, cover some basics, and we do live Q&A. And then we wrap it up, and then you have that. You can take that and then send it out and email to all the people that went to it or that didn't make it, and make sure that they have it 24/7. Then you put it on your website. One of the things you're doing to and then you can take little pieces out and repurpose it however you want, right? So it's something that hey, I'm going to help you make a lot of money, keep a lot of money, save a lot of money in taxes, get a reasonable rate of return, do all these things, financial planning, CFP, But I'm really concerned about where our public health is today. When we have over 80% of Americans overweight, obese, and morbidly obese, and we have all this heart disease and cancer and COPD and diabetes, and it's like, how are we going to really enjoy our money that we're being smart about if we are not being smart about our health? The vehicle that's going to get us to the vehicle that's earning the money, and how are we going to enjoy that? So as an advisor, I want to really help you, my clients. I've stumbled across these people that have really helped me in my life. I really believe in them, and I want to share them with you, right? So we can become a value add for you, and far the health piece goes. And it's just another thing. It's like, people don't care how much you know until you show them how much you care type thing. It's like, you're going to help them on another. What advisor, a financial advisor, ever start talking to you about, hey, I see you smoke. It's like, because I filled out your insurance application. It's like, would you really want to get off of those? Yeah, well, I can hook you with this guy. They have a stop smoking protocol. Would you be interested in that? Yeah. And, you could probably, why don't we do this? Why don't you just hook up with him for 90 days or 6 months? Then maybe we can rewrite this policy and get you preferred or preferred plus, right? Now, these are things that are possible. We help people transform their health very quickly because we get them out, get the man-made toxins out of the body, and we just show them how to plug themselves back into nature. Now, that's how it works. That's what we do. And we'd be very happy to help you with your clients and provide that service for you.
It's really neat. I like that.
Yeah. So Owen, you got a chance to learn a lot about, the purpose behind, what we're doing. I mean, obviously today was a chance for the enrichers to hear your story. Awesome story. Thank you for sharing, all of that and everything. But we'll obviously be able to talk, offline and show you different ways, but these are different examples of what we're trying to do to ultimately help you to differentiate yourself, out there in that and win that relationship war. So do you have anything else on the health side of the equation? And if not, we'll let our enrichers go do their thing.
That was great. That was exactly what I was hoping to learn about, and definitely see, I wrote a lot down on my Post-it note here, so I got some follow-ups to do.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, hey, enrichers, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast Show. To be able to check out all of the previous recordings of other wonderful guests, just like Owen Demmerly of Green Spring Advisors, CFP, Owen Demmerly, go to www.thehealthandwealthpodcastshow.com. And please like, share, and subscribe on any of the areas that you get your podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google. For my wonderful, esteemed co-host, Mr. Tim James of Chemical Free Body, and Owen Demmerly, CFP of Green Spring Advisors. I'm Carter Wilcoxon, CEO and founder of Epic Services Company and CSI Financial Group. Everybody have a wonderful day. And Owen, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxon.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.